Hello, welcome back to another Petroglyphs in the Sky Phoenix Lights UFO show. How's everybody doing today, tonight? Glad you guys are here with us. Have a great show for you in store. Can't wait to talk about what's going on. Got some great major announcements going on. Hello, how's everybody doing? My name is Jeff Woolwine, born and raised in Phoenix, Arizona. Been seeing these UFOs in my hometown ever since I was a kid. That's what brought me to be here with you today, talking about UFOs, talking about the petroglyphs that match UFOs, not talking about hearsay, talking about what we can actually prove, right? We can prove these things from the 1,000-year-old rock art, right? That the Native Americans carved over 1,000 years ago. Not only the Native Americans, but other tribes around the world. Glad you guys are here today. Boy, I've got a great show for you tonight, man. Going to talk about these UFOs, going to talk about these petroglyphs. And so, yeah, let's get into the announcements. All right, I'm excited. Let's do this. What do we got here? Okay, coming up right over here, we have the Phoenix Lights Petroglyphs in the Sky. The Covered Up History of Phoenix, Arizona by yours truly. 15 years of research, folks. Lots of hiking on that mountain. Color photographs of the rock art. Calling down someone down from the Pueblo Indian Art Museum in downtown Phoenix. A Native American to teach me the petroglyphs, the correct way on how to interpret the rock art. Everything that I've been saying for the last over 20 years now isn't anything new, okay? It's not my opinion, all right? This information has always been here, all right? I'm just bringing this back to the public. I don't understand why some of these other sky watchers hasn't realized this. But, yeah, you know, the petroglyphs are prehistoric photographs of UFO sightings. Now, not all petroglyphs are UFO sightings. Sure, there are some that's talking about hunting and gathering and kachinas and ceremonies and such like that. What I'm talking about is what the archaeologist likes to call anthropomorphs, likes to call, you know, where we're looking at spirals, doorways to the emergence, to the underworld, emergence points, things like that. That is where we are connecting the dots with these things that we see in the skies today. I mean, it's only obvious. I mean, we should probably be learning from these people because they're the ones who saw and recorded this stuff first. So what better way to understand what they're talking about, right? It's not just some myth, not just some story, not just some graffiti carved on a rock. They're prehistoric photographs of what they saw. They didn't have video cameras back then. They didn't have photographs. Cameras. They had stone boulders and rocks, stuff like that to record their sightings at on the places where they saw these things occurring at, and it was mostly mountains. Why mountains? Well, especially South Mountain. Been sitting there studying South Mountain for a number of years because of the fault line, because of the energy that's beneath this mountain that created this mountain. These things are following the energy. They follow the sun, right? That's why it's so not only important for the changing of the seasons to plant corn, blah, blah. We already know that from the archaeologists. But from another vantage point, from another viewpoint, if you will, it's not, they're tracking the sun. Yes, the whole count people are sky watchers. Of course they were. Yes, they tracked the sun. But was it because they needed to learn and know when it was time to plant corn, like the archaeologist wants us to believe? No. They already knew it was time to plant corn, dude. Hey, it's too cold. The plants ain't gonna go, man. Right? It's gotta freeze. It's gonna freeze. Well, we can't be planting corn now because it's gotta freeze our crops. Oh, let's go write this down on a rock so we remember. That's what the archaeologist wants us to believe, right? No. Has nothing to do with planting corn. It has everything to do with these things in the sky when they're going to return to the mountain, when they're going to be in the area, when they're going to leave. Oh, I talk about this in this book, man. 15 years of research. Color photographs of petroglyphs, the correct interpretation on how to understand this rock art. We're going to talk about this later on in the show today. Still photographs of my UFO sightings that I've been filming over there by South Mountain and all over Phoenix, Arizona, and Mesa and Glendale, and all the other places that I've lived around this valley in my whole lifetime, right? I've been recording these things, so lots of stuff we're going to talk about. So I'm going to show you some of the sightings here tonight. I'm going to show you some still photographs. The covered up history of Phoenix, Arizona. Why do I say the covered up history? Because it's stuff that has been not talked about in 80 years. It's proven evidence. It's photographs. If you're not able to get to the mountain on your own, I bring the mountain to you through this book. You can find this book on Amazon Kindle for only $3, folks. It's only $3. I'm not out to get rich. It's not about money. It's not about fame. It's not about, fame and fortune, Dr. Jones. No, it's nothing to do with like what some of these other people are doing. It's about getting this information to you, all right? And Amazon wouldn't let me do a free book, so I had to mark it down to $3. So the 1 and 2, there's a lot of information in this, right? So I had to split the book up 2 parts because it was just too dang big for Amazon. They made me split it up, so I had to make it 2 parts. Each copy is $3. So $6, dude, to find out what's really here in Phoenix, Arizona. I mean, you can't beat it. So I made it cheap so everybody, can have a chance to, see what's there. And that's what it's all about. That's what Petroglyphs in the Sky is all about. That's why I'm here that's why I'm here today talking to you, just to get this out in the open, because, all these other people are talking about this stuff and, they're, neglecting what the Native Americans are saying. I mean, way before Ancient Aliens TV show was going, way before the UFO Hunter show was going, I was out there on South Mountain, collecting the data, going up there physically, man, from one spot to the mountain to the other spot of the mountain. I've been there. All right? I've been all over that mountain, all right? Understanding the petroglyphs. Like I said earlier, I called down a Native American shaman to come down and teach me the rock art, right? I sat by the South Mountain for over 3 years, and I watched these things come and visit this mountain, just like what the Hohokam Indians did. I tracked them through the sun. I understood. I watched them, right? First year was cool. Second year, it repeated itself. Third year, that was it, brother. Holy cow. And I tell you what, I have seen some amazing things. Those of you who have been following me all these years know this, man. Look at the crazy stuff that I've been filming. It's just insane. That's why, Bill Burns' UFO Magazine got a hold of me. I did an article for UFO Magazine. From there, Pat Uskert, he had this idea of the UFO Hunter show, the pilot. And so everything was in motion. I don't believe everything, is by coincidence. Everything kind of happens for a reason. These things, I followed these things to the mountain. I climbed the mountain. I found the Native American. Everything just kind of fell into my lap. The petroglyphs. Oh my God, dude. It is exactly what these petroglyphs are talking about, these things in the sky. And, it just blew me away on how much evidence was there. And, and then all of a sudden Pat Uskert's there in Phoenix and he's doing a pilot for the UFO Hunter show. It all just came together. I did the pilot, and then later on in 2007, I did the show called Arizona Lights. And you can find that on Pluto and all these paranormal channels. They've been playing it a lot lately. They've been doing a lot of reruns on the Arizona Lights. And that's really cool, getting the information out. And and then from there, it just skyrocketed. So I've been doing this stuff a lot longer than some of these shows. Ancient Aliens has been on the air, while they was just thinking about it, I'm up there doing it, right? Okay, so enough of that. The Phoenix Lights, Petroglyphs in the Sky, Volume 1, Volume 2, the covered up here, history of Phoenix, Arizona. And yeah, because the archaeologist is not talking about the gold tombs that are out there, right? Look at the book, look at the evidence, right? Not talking about the sacrificing altars out there, not talking about how the Mayans were here in Phoenix, Arizona, right? All this proof is there. All the evidence is there, right? And I went off the trails to find this stuff, to bring it to you. All right? I went in this for my own self because I wanted some answers. This is why I did this, because I was seeing these things in the sky, right? And as I'm researching, as I'm learning, I'm an amateur archaeologist. I've been studying archaeologists way before being a sky watcher. And so it just, two and two just brought me together, man. I'm studying the Phoenix Lights, and then all of a sudden I see the guy on television, and he's talking about the rock art on South Mountain, and then one guy turns around and he says, hey, this stick figure guy looks like he's looking up at something in the sky above his head. And he turns around and says, yes, that's part of our interpretation here, is that our ancestors saw and recorded things in the sky. Wait a minute. Hold the phone. Are you serious? Did you really just say that, dude? Okay. Wait a minute. And this is, I saw this in 2004, right? And the Phoenix Lights happened in 1997, March 13th, right? And no one has put this connection together yet. I mean, no one is looking at the petroglyphs. No one is understanding the history of Phoenix here. No one's trying to understand what the Native Americans are saying about these lights. Come on now. We got strange lights in the sky. Now we have strange markings out there on the rocks. I mean, dude, it's not, God, dude. Oh my goodness. So yeah, dude, and I called up Dave. That's his name, Dave Morris, and I was like, dude, this is in 2005, right? So I'm filming the lights in 2004. I make the news, right? And the end result, the whole summer of 2004, they're saying I'm seeing flares. I'm like, dude, no way, and so in 2005, on my archaeology work, on my study, mountains was the key. And I followed these lights to South Mountain. These lights knew I was coming. I can't explain this. This is the only explanation I can think of, can come up with, is the truth. And I saw these lights. They were moving towards the mountain. I followed them to the mountain. And in 2005, I moved to the mountain to see if I can get any day shots. And lo and behold, I did. And I saw this thing land on the mountain. And I go out there expecting to see a crop circle, because I'm still thinking crafts, right? I'm still thinking technology, right? Because that's what everybody's telling me. These are spaceships, they're crafts, they're gray man from another planet, blah. Hey, that's all good. That's all fine and dandy. I'm ready for that, man. Yeah. And so this thing comes out of the sky, goes down there on South Mountain. I'm like, dude. And I filmed it. I saw it. I went out there the next day expecting to see a crop circle, expecting to see some kind of evidence that a spaceship landed out there. What do I find? I find a big boulder with a spiral and an orb right above that spiral, the exact same thing that I recorded the day before. And that just blew me away, and I was like, wait a minute, okay. Now it's time to call in somebody that knows what they're talking about. So I got a hold of Dave, and I was like, dude, last year I saw you on Channel 8. You're talking about the petroglyphs. I said, I'm doing a little documentary. I'm doing something on my own here. Is it cool if you teach me the petroglyphs? He's like, yeah, sure, all fine and dandy. I didn't really tell him what I was doing. I didn't tell him my idea. I didn't tell him, anything really. I just said, hey, I saw you, and I'm interested in the glyphs. Can I film you while I'm doing it, right? Because you got to document it, right? So you got to document it, and I filmed it. Up there talking about some crazy stuff, right? And he's talking about these spirals, how they're doorways for the spirits, right? And he's telling me, he's talking about spirits of the earth and the sky. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, dude, so that spiral is a symbol for an emergence point, for a doorway into the underworld, right? He says that crack is the emergence point to the underworld. Is he saying crafts? Is he saying aliens? No, he's talking spirits, man. He's talking something different, right? I'm trying to take it all in. I'm still new to it. I'm learning, right? This is 2005. I'm still learning. It's what I do. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm thinking to myself, how can a big-ass spaceship go in that little crack? Right? But I'm open to it. I'm here to learn. Until I saw it, until I actually understood what he was talking about, that these things, they're not crafts at all. These things are alive, right? And somehow or another, they're able to go into the stone. They're able to go into those emergence points. And then when I saw it and when I recorded it umpteen million times, I was convinced, wait a minute, this is not what I and everybody else has been being told here for the last umpteen years. Sure, spaceships and Alpha Centauri and gray guys is cool, and I'm open to that, right? I mean, I have seen some things in the sky that could resemble a craft. Don't get me wrong, all right? But I think what the majority of the people are seeing, these orbs, these lights, these other things that we see, aren't crafts at all. These things are alive. They're living beings. They're living creatures, all right? And they have the capabilities to go into these rocks, into these mountains. And so the Native Americans are telling us, well, they're going into the underworld. Well, on a scientific analysis, they're going down into that fault line, right? They're there to absorb the energy, right? And remember I was talking about planting corn and changing of the seasons and how the Kohokoms were sky watchers and this and that and this. And it's because when the sun moves, tracks through the sky on the changing of the seasons, these things follow the sun. They follow the energy sources. For instance, when the sun's over here during a certain season, these things are flocking to that area. So when this sun is in a perfect alignment with these fault lines, with these energy lines, with these ley lines, it's opening up a fusion effect. It's opening up a doorway. And that's what the Native Americans are telling us, man. These spirals are doors. And it's bringing these things to this energy source. After the changing of the seasons, the sun moves, right? The sun is in a different position now, right? Well, so are these things, okay? And this has been going on for like, oh my God, over 1,000 years. Probably way before man has even been here. They're following the sun. They track in the seasons. That's why when we see these spirals and these light and shadow effects, it's in my book, all right? And it's piercing these spirals, and it's cutting through the spiral, and it's going up into that crack, into the doorway. It's telling us. It's telling us, now they're going home. They're going in. Now it's time to come back out. It's a cycle. It's a pattern, all right? Like the first year I watched it, and I noticed that certain months that they were here, and certain months they were kind of gone, maybe one, maybe two. But the next months, all right, when the sun would change, these things came flocking back, man. And then the sun would change again. We'd have another equinox or solstice, and they would be gone. But then they would come back after the equinox and the solstice. And that first year was cool. The second year, it repeated itself. I'm like, wow, wait a minute here. Third year, it repeated itself, right? Oh, that was it, dude. That was it. Nobody taught me this. I learned it myself. I learned it my own by watching South Mountain for 3.5 years on the east side. And I noticed there was a pattern. And this is why people come up to me, dude, I was on South Mountain, but I didn't see anything. Okay, well, what month did you go, right? Where were you looking at, right? Because nobody knows this, nobody understands this. Nobody really understood, what I was, seeing here, because they haven't taken the time to study this mountain, to watch was what was really going on there, because why? You know, they're going to work, they're going to school, they're not looking up, and these things don't make any noise. They don't cast any shadows. So you won't even know that they're there unless you're looking up, right? So you have to pay attention. Whew. Boy, I tell you what, I can go on forever, and I usually do. So let's get on with stuff. I haven't even got to my major announcement yet. So the Phoenix Lights, Petroglyphs in the Sky, check it out. Yes, there is a cover-up here, okay? And that's why I call it the covered-up history of Arizona, because it's covering up the Phoenix Lights. It's covering up the history of Phoenix, right? They want you to believe something that's not credible. What's credible is the evidence that has been left for us by the Holcomb Indians, because it's for our generation. It's for we should know about this, right? And for 80 years they've been covering this up very good until I came around and exposed it, right? I discovered something here that wasn't meant to be talked about. They buried this a long time ago, right? And so, you know, I'm making the news, I'm doing cable shows, everything was all fine and dandy up until my book came out. And once my book came out, that's when they shut me down. All right? Why? Because I'm telling the truth here. I'm showing evidence. I'm showing facts. I'm showing photographs, dude, of what's on South Mountain. And it doesn't go with what these archaeologists is trying to tell us. All right? I've been on the news with the archaeologists arguing about the petroglyphs. And of course, what is everybody they're gonna believe them, you know, the archaeologists. But you have to look at my book. You have to look at, you know, the photographs here. You have to look at the evidence, man. The evidence is totally contradicting what this archaeologist is trying to tell you. Whew. I can go on, folks, and I easily do. Okay, let's move along here. Okay. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. This is it. This is it. Holy cow. Get ready. Get ready. Get ready. Boom. Here it comes. The Wild West Paracon out there in Tombstone, Arizona. Oh my goodness. Oh, are you serious? Wow, man. There has never been a Paracon in Tombstone, Arizona up until now. Oh my, why? We have no idea. But we are getting one together, man. Our friend Bruce is getting one together. Oh my God, it's going to be great. This is going to be the biggest event in the history of Paracons. There are going to be so many guest speakers out there, so many vendors. This is the place to be at, all right? When is it? It's May 5th through the 7th, okay? We got a few more months left, all right? But I'm telling you, man, things are going in motion. This is going to be a great, great Paracon. Okay, not only am I going to be there speaking about the Phoenix Lights, the UFOs, and blah, 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 right? I'm going to be a guest speaker there. But also, we're going to be doing a seance. We're going to be doing a ghost hunt. We're going to be doing a seance there at a haunted house, man. A real haunted house. This is your chance to come down, meet us, hang out with us, all right? Do some ghost hunting, talk about UFOs in a wild, wild west, you know, environment, man, in Tombstone, Arizona. Can you believe it? This is going to be great. I'm going to have my seance box out there. We're going to be, you know, conversing with ghosts. We're going to talk about the Phoenix Lights, UFOs, and you know what? I want you guys to be out there with us, and I want you to tell me about your UFO sightings. Okay, that's the highlight of my, you know, whole experience going out there. I want you guys to tell me about your UFO stories. You know, we're going to be up there, and I want to be calling people out in the audience. Tell me about your UFO story. You know, how did you see UFOs? Where did you see it? Tell me your stories, man. I love it. I love it. And if you have videos, oh, send me the videos, you guys. Oh, my God. Wild Wild West Paracon. Here it comes. It's coming at you guys on the May. All right. And coming. Oh, my God. I just can't say enough about it. And so, yeah. And we're going to be doing. Okay. I can't really give it out what house that I'm going to be investigating with along with you guys. All right, but it's gonna be it's a very special house, and the lady who lives there has had paranormal happenings, poltergeist happenings, and I can't reveal the house yet. All right, that's gonna keep stay tuned for that, all right? But yeah, it's woo, right? And we're gonna be there, dude. We're gonna do it. So first time ever, right? It's never been done before. The Seance Experience, all right, with Jeff Woolwine, Haunted Encounter Adventures. Come on down. Let's bring this on out. I have another page called Haunted Encounter Adventures. Check us out there. All right, we do ghost hunts and all kinds of paranormal activity and things like that. Haunted Encounter Adventures. Come on down, join us. Let's do a ghost hunt in Tombstone, Arizona. The best place ever to do a ghost hunt, right? With the Cowboys and Wild West and Doc Holliday and oh my God, dude, it's great. Oh, I just can't say enough. Woo! I am so excited, and there's so many vendors and so many people are going to be there. This is the biggest. This is the biggest event ever in paranormal paracons ever. Way bigger than the Vulture City Mines. Okay, this tops the charts. Okay, so make sure that you find out and get your tickets. And come on down, man. Let's talk about UFOs. Let's do a ghost hunt together. Let's do it up, people. Woo! I'm ready. Can you tell? I'm so excited. Okay. All right, let's get on with this. Okay, let's talk about rock art. So, I met my friend Gustavo and my wife and I, Pam. We went down to Signal Hill. And it's right about an hour away from Tucson, Arizona. And this is really cool here. This hill is really cool because it's talking about these petroglyphs, all right? And it's basically what it is so it's a hill, okay? And there's a whole bunch of boulders up there. And there's petroglyphs, and they're facing towards the summer equinox and the solstice and things like that, right? And there's mountains in the background, right? Everybody knows a big spiral out there. I'm sure you've seen it. And it's facing towards those mountains. And we're going to talk about it here. And it's got these glyphs on it. Now let's take a look at some of these glyphs. So look at this. Let's look at the spirals. Remember the spirals? The spirals are emergence points, right? They're doorways, right? They're symbols for doorways. So let's look at this spiral real quick. So clockwise is a doorway in. Counterclockwise is the doorway out. If the spiral ends down, then it's probably, it'll probably end in a crack. I'll show you some photographs here later on in the show what I'm talking about. But if the spiral ends down into this crack, that is the doorway. That is the emergence point. That's when these things are coming down, and it looks like they absorb themselves into the rock. I've seen it. This is not a myth. This is not a legend. This is not somebody on peyote, all right, trying to make this stuff up. This is what's going on. This is what we can prove, okay? This is where the credibility lies, right? This is the facts. And this is what they show, and this is what I'm all about. Crossing your T's, dotting your I's, before you come out and make a fool of yourself, right? Because if you're going to say something spectacular, then you better make sure you be able to prove it, okay? You better make sure you have something to back it up. And that's what I'm all about. I'm about backing whatever I say. I can prove whatever I say. And like I said before, I'm not saying anything that hasn't been said before. I'm just repeating the stuff that hasn't been taught to you in 80 years. So, clockwise, doorway in, counterclockwise, doorway out. If the spiral ends up, like this one is doing, see how the spiral is ending up? So we have a spiral, it's going counterclockwise, so it's a doorway out, right? Let's bring this up a little bit more. See that? Now look how it's ending. So it's ending up in the sky. And that's what Dave was telling me. He's like, it's like these spirals is a symbol, and it's like looking down into a tunnel. You're looking down into a hole. And he says, if it ends up, he says, there's a vortex in the sky. I said, what? A vortex? Yes, a vortex in the sky from another dimension? Could be. We haven't been able to prove that yet, but these things are coming in from somewhere. They're, this is why, when we're looking at the Phoenix lights, those of you who have seen these lights in the sky, you know how they just magically appear in the sky? They're very soft, they're very quiet, they just boop, there they are, right? They're coming into that doorway. They're coming in from another dimension? Could be. Don't know yet. Don't know that yet. But they're coming in from somewhere. They're coming in from that door into our world through this doorway. And that's what this spiral is telling us. Now these rocks, if you look at these rocks, I mean, I don't think that these rocks were like natural. I mean, that whole hill looks like these huge boulders were placed there. It really does. I think those rocks were placed there for these petroglyphs. And look how heavy these rocks are, right? I don't think it's natural. I think these rocks were actually put there for a reason. All right, somebody very big, somebody very powerful. And those of you who have been following me, and those of you who have been reading my books, know I talk about giants, and I show the evidence of giants. And so this could be another evidence of giants, because these rocks are piled up in such a way that they're oriented right towards the summer, towards the sunrise, during the equinox and the solstice, and then also for the sunset. So these boulders are placed there for that kind of occurrence. It's telling us when these things are going to be here, and it also tells us what to look for. Now look at this. Look at all these squiggly lines, right? So I want to show you something. Let me find it real quick. Look at these squiggly lines, okay? And to us, it's just like squiggly lines, right? Because, I mean, for the longest time, we haven't been able to decipher this because, we just didn't have that kind of information on what these lines are talking about, what all this crazy looking lines are talking about. But look at that there, okay? See that? That, we all know what that is, right? That's an orb. That's a circle with a dot. We know that's an orb, right? So we can kind of put the dots together, without these squiggly lines because of that orb there. We all know what the orbs are, right? We've seen them. And the lights, right? They're circular, right? What about these squiggly lines here? Well, let's take a look at some of this stuff. Now, this is something that I filmed over Phoenix. You can see the video. This is a still shot of the video. You see that? Now, if I wanted to, leave a mark on a rock and to tell the next generation of people what I saw, I can't say, well, how am I going to do this? How am I going to explain? Because I can't write and say, I saw a worm in the sky. Or I can't write and say, I saw a snake in the sky. Or I can't write and say, I saw this squiggly thing up there that seems to be alive and it's changing shape. I can't write that because there is no language. But I can draw it, right? I can draw what I saw, right? And so here we have this worm-looking thing that was flying over Phoenix. And then we have these petroglyphs, right? You see where I'm going with this? And to us, it's, UFO sightings, because this is what we've been, taught all these years, UFOs, right? Unidentified flying objects. And now they're saying UAPs. Well, they're getting closer, right? Unidentified aerial phenomenon, right? Aerial phenomenon. Hey, that's a good idea. Let's call these things phenomenon. Da, 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 da. Phenomenon. Da, 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 da. Right? They're getting close. I mean, you and I both know that these things are alive. You and I both know that these things aren't spaceships and crafts. Okay? These things are living creatures. We see an orb out there. We see 5 lights out there. It's not a spaceship. It's not a cloaked craft with 5 lights on it. Each light is a living creature, is a living entity, is a living being. I didn't know that until I watched what was really going on, until I understood the petroglyphs. And what are the petroglyphs talking about, man? And what do the legends tell us? The legends are telling us they're shape shifting. They're shape shifters. And that's what they're doing. They're shape shifting. Right? That's exactly what this thing is doing. Let me get out another picture here. Here's the exact same sighting, but a different screenshot. Let's go ahead and get rid of this. Now look at this, see? The exact same day, exact same sighting. Okay, now look at it, right? See how big I can get it. See if I can get it bigger. Without screwing things up. Look at that. See that? Look at that bad boy. See that? And it's changing shape. And when you see the video, it actually goes up to this contrail because it's kind of cool. The video is really cool. All right, so let's see if I can find the picture now. So it had this contrail, all right? And this thing actually, in the video I filmed, is actually going up past this well, I don't think it passes it. I think it goes underneath it. And then it straightens out, man. It's like mimicking this contrail. It's really crazy. Check out the video. It's called Easter Sunday. Okay, now let's bring this back down so I can get back to the petroglyph. So this is what these petroglyphs and these squiggly lines are talking about. It's talking about these living entities, or, you know, some call them serpents, some call them worms, you know. And that's exactly what these things are talking about. Look, and look at this. Look. Let's make this bigger. Let's make this bigger. And see, it's joining. It's joining the spiral. See that? It's counterclockwise, doorway out. So all these things is coming out of this vortex in the sky. That's what this petroglyph is talking about here. Let's go ahead and get rid of this. Oh, let's make sure we do it right. Okay? I have another one. Let me show you this one. This is the last one. This is a different sighting on a different day. See this? I'm sure you guys have seen this before in my sightings. Look at that. February 1st, 2006 is when I filmed this. See that? You see where I'm going here with this? This thing's alive, dude. It's changing shape. It came out of South Mountain. It's going in a straight line. It's going against the wind. All right? I'm so sick of that balloon theory and all this other crap that's out there. You know, we have to look at what the petroglyphs are saying and what we're seeing for our own eyes. Right? I mean, that's two that we can verify that is credible, is we see it with our eyes, and now we make the connection with the petroglyphs, right? Because we've seen it, and now we see it carved on the rocks over 1,000 years ago. Look, here's your guys' orb. There's your orb. Everybody recognizes that, I'm sure. Everybody's seen the orbs. And there it is, right there. And then we have another orb there, look. And then, you know, we have that dot. In my past shows, I talk about that dot. Right? And then we have all these little squiggly lines. All these creatures coming out from the doorway. From the vortex in the sky. Right? This is how to correctly interpret the petroglyph, the rock art. Look at this. Is that crazy? That's a crazy sighting. Right? So this Native American is telling us and other generations over the last 100 or 2 years what he saw. And now now we're seeing it in our generation, And we're actually making the connection here. Wait a minute. Maybe this is what they're talking about, right? They're talking about what we're seeing today. So that's number 2. So, we see it, and then we see it on the rock. Now, what's number 3? What is number 3 that we can verify? Ancient writings that has been written down 3,000 to 7,000 years ago, right? Because they talk about this stuff too. It's crazy. We can read these old manuscripts. We can read these old scrolls, Anunnaki, things like that, right? And then we can come out to some of these mountains where these petroglyphs are, and we can see the photographs of what these scrolls are talking about. That's 3. So we see it for our eyes, we see it on the rock, and now we read it in scrolls way before sci-fi was even invented, right? You see the pyramid connection here? You see what I'm trying to get? This is credible. To me, this is credible. Okay, we got a lot to go, so let's move on. Let's look at this picture over here. Oh my goodness. Now look at this. Now this is on South Mountain. I brought this out now. Let me see if I can find the other one here. So this is a good one. This is good. It'll take me a minute to find it. Okay, so that's on South Mountain. Now look at this, right? You see these? Whoops, dang it. You see this rock art here looks like jumping jacks, right? Now look at this. This is a carving from Germany. I'm sure you guys have seen this before. This is in my book also. And what's the year? I think it's in like 1700s, I think it is. But do you see the connection? Look at the jacks there. Now look at the jacks here, right? Same thing. I have another picture here. Let me find it. Yep, I lost it now. But that's the exact same thing. So how is it like, the 1700s or 1500s, is it? I can't remember, but it's old. I think it is the 1500s. And so, the Native Americans in Phoenix, because that's Phoenix right there. This is on South Mountain. And I photographed this. Look at all the rubble. So they blew this up. They blew up this rubble. And you can find out who did it in my book. But look at it. And it's facing, Phoenix. That's Phoenix in the background there. Right? And then we have the jacks, right? That was carved, in the 1500s. Not only the jacks, but look. Look, we have orbs, we have the lights, right? Look. We have these long tubular things, right? Look at the orbs. See the pyramid formation? See that there? Look. Have the cross in the sky. Look. We've seen all of this in the skies today, right? Those of you probably haven't seen the jacks. I have. But you certainly recognize the blue lights, the red lights, the Phoenix lights. Look, the red. See the Phoenix lights, right? The black orbs, right? With the white orbs, right? We've seen all this stuff, man. And look at this big ass thing here, dude. Holy cow. And look. It's above the city. So that thing is huge, right? You see that? Isn't that crazy? I think there's another rock art that I meant to bring up, but I can't find it. We'll see it later on in the show whenever it comes around. I'll point it out. So remember the jacks, okay? Isn't that crazy? Isn't that so crazy? Okay, let's move on. Now this is cool. Look at this. This is on Signal Hill. So we know that's like a horse or a deer, right? Makes sense. It's a deer, right? Maybe a pregnant one. Or a fat one. But look at this here. Look at that. What is that? Isn't that cool? Look at that thing. See? And then, you know, some people would say, oh, dude, that's a balloon, right? Because it's got a string. Oh, sure, yeah, the Indians were covering balloons over 1,000 years ago. All right, we got it. It's a balloon. Woo! You know what I'm saying? Come on now. There was no balloons back then. But why are they carving stuff that looks like balloons? Because that's what they saw. They saw these things, and these lines are coming down from them. Those of you who have been following me all these years and have read the book and seen other petroglyphs talking about this line know what this line is all about. We're not going to get into that tonight. My past shows in the book, they talk about this line and what this line does, and it's very scary. But yeah, look at that. That's one of those things we call today a UFO, UAP, right? That's so funny. It's an unidentified aerial phenomenon, right? Dude, well, you know, I think that's better than, like crafts. But I think that's the next cover up. So over the years, first it was like weather balloons, and then we came to the Phoenix lights, and now they're saying flares, right? And now, now all these fighter pilots and all these pilots and Air Force people and stuff like that, they're seeing them in the skies. The more and more is coming, right? And it's in my book and the reasons why more and more is here. In my past shows, I talk about why so much UFO activity has increased lately. And so, like, everybody's seeing them, right? And so let's look at it here. What have I been saying this whole time? What have I been saying ever since 2005 when I first realized this, right? That these things aren't crafts. This is not technology, right? Technology and crafts and aliens, and that's all great. That's all fine and dandy. Can we prove that? Can we solidly, factually prove aliens? Can we prove spaceships? To my knowledge, not yet. We read books and stories and stuff like that on this, and that's all fine and gravy. But we have to be able to prove. And that's what I'm doing here today. We're proving what's here. We're not taking hearsay. We're not taking somebody trying to sell a book. We're not trying to, unintentionally, mislead everybody. We're looking at proof here. And the proof is in the three pyramids that I just talked about, the three things, right? What we see, what's carved, and what's been written. That to me is credible. That to me is where the credibility lies at. And because, we understand technology. That's what the problem is here. Because we have gone away from some of these ancient scrolls, right? Because we have turned away, because we don't take them as face value. We don't take them as literally. They say, this dragon is coming up out of the sea. Well, they're trying to say that's a submarine, right? It's a nuclear submarine coming out of a sea. Well, what if really what it is? It really is a serpent dragon. It's a flying. It's Quetzalcoatl, and he's coming up out of that sea, right? We read these ancient texts, and then we put what we think it's talking about. Well, it must be a stealth bomber. It must be a tank. It must be a submarine or a ship. But what if these ancient scrolls is actually telling us, look, dude, I saw this, man. I'm right. I'm telling you here. I'm telling you what I saw. I saw this damn dragon come out of the water. I saw this flying serpent come out of the mountain. I saw this thing over a pyramid hill. I'm going to write it down. It's not some metaphor. It's not, some guy looking, oh, it's got to be a tank. It's got to be a stealth bomber. No, man. What if they're telling us what is really going on here? But see, people has turned away from that. And this is and for so many years, and this is the reason why when we look at the petroglyphs, we don't understand them. Because we were taught something else. We've been led to believe on technology and spaceships because that's what we understand. We understand technology. We can relate because we've done it before. We've built spaceships to the moon and all this other stuff. We know that. But if they came around and said, hey, you know what's really here, guys? Flying serpents, Quetzalcoatl, shape-shifting creatures, shape-shifting beings that has the power to go on these mountains, that has the power to absorb this energy, that has the power to do other stuff, to morph, to mimic the likeness of man. Because that's what these petroglyphs are telling us. It's, these orbs and lights. This is just the beginning, man. I can tell you. I've seen it. This is just the beginning. These orbs, they change, man. I've seen it. Just like what these glyphs are telling us. They're shape-shifting. That's what the natives have been telling us all these years, that they're shape-shifting beings, man. They take the likeness and forms of anything, and they do. They look like men, they look like serpents, they look like deers, they look like weird animals, man. It's kind of interesting. So one thing I got to talk about here real quick comes to my mind. So when we read Exodus, right, and it says, that, a pillar of cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night led the Israelites out of Egypt, and Moses followed these things and this thing in the sky. And then one day, right, Moses went up on this mountain, again, a mountain, and this light comes down and, and he's up there for like a long time, right? And then these people are like, well, dude, Moses is gone, all right? But I see what looks like a cow in the sky. What if this is what's going on? I see that cow. It looks like a cow. It's a shape-shifting being in the sky, and he's there. And he looks like an animal. He looks like a cow. Okay, everybody. Moses is gone. That's our God now. Give me all your gold. We got to make an idol. We got to make what we see up there. It looks like a cow. So we're going to make this cow because it looks like a cow, right? What if that is really what's going on here? What if, because it's weird. Why would they make a cow in the first place? Why would they make a calf, dude? What is the purpose of a cow? Why would you want to make a gold idol of a cow? That just doesn't make sense. Unless you saw it in the sky. They're putting together what they saw, what was supernatural to them, what they thought was a god. And their replacement, because Moses is gone, what if this god looks like a cow? It's funny too, because the real Sinai, Mount Sinai, I can't pronounce it right, Jebel, right? There's cow petroglyphs out there, and they're different looking cows, dude. Right? Their legs are faced different. The archaeologist calls them anthropomorphs. They're shapeshifters. They're changing shapes. They're morphing, right? They're morphing into other things, right? So the archaeologist calls them anthropomorphs. Well, that's funny because the same type of petroglyphs that is on Mount Jebel Allah is on South Mountain. Isn't that interesting? The exact same story that we can read in some of these texts is carved on the mountains around Phoenix. Mount Hermon wasn't the only mountain that these things were cast upon. This book tells us that Mount Hermon was the mountain, but it wasn't the only mountain. Phoenix, Arizona was one of these mountains. So when you look at it this way, and this is what 1, 2, 3, right? We see it, we see the photographs, we read about it. That's credible, right? And so if they were to come out, the government to come out and say, you know what, guys, it's not crass at all, it's not technology, but this is like a living creature, a living being, and you know what? The Phoenix Lights is the reason that the Hohokam people disappeared. How many people would actually stay in the valley? If they actually came out and told you that this is not spaceships, this is not technology, these are living beings, these are living creatures, what would happen then? Panic? Because they are scary. I've seen them. I've seen them close up. I've documented. I've filmed them. You know this, man. Right? You've seen my film. Oh, and, you know, I made the news, all right? I've been on the UFO Hunter Show. I've done all this stuff around the world. I've done documentaries, right? And I've had my videos looked at. Back then, I didn't have a computer. I don't even know how to do a computer-generated image. I don't know how to do all that, right? I don't even know how to make a video like that, dude. And so every time I would make the news, every time I do a cable show, they would take my footage. And I only had a high-8 videotape. I only had I'm not rich, you know, I didn't have a sophisticated camera. I did the best I could. I took a high-8 videotape, and I'm filming all these things. And every time I did the news, they would take my videotapes, and I got paranoid because I'm thinking, oh my God, they're taking my evidence. I'm never going to see these tapes again, right? So I made News Channel 3 right out of contract. You've seen the contract on my Facebook page. Yeah, I made Scott Davis from News Channel 3 write me a contract before he took my tapes because I was totally paranoid that I was never going to see my tapes again. Okay? And they took my tapes and they analyzed it to make sure I'm not hoaxing nothing. And once they found out that I'm not hoaxing it, that I'm actually proving that the petroglyphs on the mountains of South Mountain is talking about what I'm filming. Woo! That just opened up a whole new book of worms on the Phoenix Lights, man. That's never been done before. So, and like I said, everything was fine and gravy, right? I'm doing documentaries, I'm doing cable shows, I'm doing news reports, right? Until my book came out. And then it shut everything down. Why? Because there's a cover-up here. It's a big cover-up here. Because there is gold on South Mountain left by the Mayans. There is evidence of giants out here. There is evidence of the Mayans being here. There is evidence of pyramids being covered up. There is evidence of big giant walls. Right? That's why they made South Mountain a government park. So you can't go over there and start digging stuff up. I mean, why not make the White Tank Mountains a government park? Why not make the Superstition Mountains a government park? Why not make a mountain a government park? Why pick on South Mountain? What makes South Mountain so special that they want to make sure nobody's up there with shovels and picks and metal detectors? They want to make sure that doesn't happen, dude. Why? Why? What are they so paranoid about? What are they afraid of? They're afraid of the truth. They're afraid someone like me is going to come around and expose that stuff and dig that stuff up and pull out a giant skeleton, pull out some Mayan gold, right? That's what they're afraid of. And everything was fine and dandy up until my book came out. And of course, when my book came out with all these photographs and proof and evidence of what's on South Mountain that has been kept away from the public for 80 years, I took that to News Channel 15. And of course, what did they do? What did they do? You guessed it. They took it to the archaeologists, right? Look what this guy is doing. How come your book doesn't talk about this? How come your book, archaeologist Todd Bosowicz, Mr. Todd, why doesn't your book talk about this tomb out here that's clearly a tomb? I mean, why aren't you talking about the altars here, right? Look at the Mayan petroglyphs. Why aren't you talking about the Mayan petroglyphs in your book, Mr. Archaeologist of the city of Phoenix, Todd Bosowicz? Oh no, you can't talk about that. Shut it down. Shut it down. Shut it down. That's exactly what happened to me. You know, the truth, man, kicked me in the ass, dude. You know, you come out and you cross your T's and you dot your I's, and before you come out to the public and you say, look what I found, look what I saw, look what I did, look at all this stuff, look at the evidence, because you want to make sure that you can back it up. You're not going to be another one of those, hearsay dudes, somebody that can't prove anything, right? Just a book with a bunch of words, with no photographs, right? No, you have photographs, dude. You're proving what you're saying here, right? Oh, no. Can't have that here. That's what happened, folks. So that's why we're here today. We're talking to you. And those of you who are with us tonight, thank you so much for watching and understanding what's going on here. Because this is real. This is truth. I'm not making up any of this, And I was going down this road, thinking, oh my God, the Phoenix Lights, they're cool. It's great. Holy cow, it's a miracle. They're here to save the world. It's wonderful. But the more and more I, was doing the investigation and looking at the evidence, I'm thinking, oh, I'm going down a different road here, because the evidence is totally contradicting what I was meant to believe, what everybody was telling me. That's not what's going on here. The petroglyphs are saying something different. The oral history of what the Native Americans are saying is totally different. What I'm seeing in the sky and filming is totally different. Wait a minute here. What is going on? Wait, I can't go down that road no more. That's a hearsay road. I have to go down what I can prove. This is what's here. Oh my God. Right? And so when I did a 180 on this stuff, man, when I did a 180 and I started saying to UFO Magazine and UFO Hunter Show and Ancient Aliens TV show, all this, I'm proving all this stuff, and I'm like, oh, look, dude, this is different. And what did he say? What did he say? What did he come back to me at? Pat Uskert, UFO Hunter Show. What did he say in 2007? He says, now, Jeff, he says, when you talk about these things, you have to say crafts. You have to say spaceships. Now, Jeff, you're filming some bizarre stuff, and the public isn't ready for that. Even in the show Arizona Lights, he says, well, it's just a theory. It's a personal theory in Jeff Woolwine, and even in the pilot. The pilot for the UFO Hunter Show, he says, well, is Jeff Woolwine a genius or a madman? Right? And then later, Bill Burns writes in his book talking about my work, and then later agrees with me, right? I mean, come on now. I don't know, it just pissed me off. That's, I wasn't allowed to say what was really here. And that's why I kind of bypassed a lot of these other cable shows. I started, turning some of them down because they wanted to go down this direction of misinformation. And that's what really pissed me off, especially, because the UFO Hunter Show, they wanted to do a sequel on me, and they just wanted to say something completely different and mislead the public, and so did Ancient Aliens. Ancient Aliens wanted me to, start saying misinformation, and I couldn't do that. I just stepped back. I had to step back from that. Yes, it hurt me. Yes, it got me away from being on TV. But I had my morals here, dude. Look, if I believed in what you're telling me, I would say that. But I'm sorry, the evidence is not saying what you want the people to believe. Okay? So we need to, start telling the truth here. All right? Oh, no, you can't do that, dude, because the public isn't ready for it. Well, it's been, what, 15, 20 years now. And now I got people writing me all over the world. Dude, I saw a flying snake. Dude, I saw this creature is transforming. It's morphing. Everyone's filming, what I'm seeing, what I was saying way back and then. Okay, let's move on because I can blabber and move on. Sorry about that, guys. Okay, let's look at this. Uh-oh, here we go. So yeah, look at this. See that? We have the two orbs there. And look, it's connected to a line. See that? There's a spiral. And these spirals, look at this. Let's move this up here. Yeah, it kind of looks like spirals, don't it? But it's not really a spiral. So I'm not going to say that those are spirals because I don't think they are. But these right here, yeah, these are orbs, and we've seen those in the sky. Look at this here. You see this? You see this a lot. Look at this empty space here. So someone has deliberately came in and chiseled all that out, to either, to erase it or, sometimes people take it for souvenirs. So, and that's one thing that you really don't want to do because you're taking the history away. And, another thing also, you never want to touch the petroglyphs because it puts the oil from your fingers. It makes the petroglyphs all yellow and stuff. Okay, so here's that glyph that I was looking for. Look at the jack. Remember the jacks we talked about earlier? Look at the jack. Woo! This is on Signal Hill. All right, so this is a spiral. And what's it doing? It's going in. Okay, so it's ending down. It's kind of ending right here, right? And then we have this spiral. Or excuse me, we have this jack, right? Is it coming out of this crack? Could be. All right. Isn't that interesting? So the people in Germany, 1500s? I can't remember. But yeah, that painting was old of the jacks. And then, the Holcomb Indians, they're carving the exact same thing. And I have seen the jacks in the sky. And so yeah, I can relate to that. Here's another one. There's a spiral. So this is perfect. A perfect example of what I'm talking about. This is on Signal Hill. Look. See how the spiral is ending here in this crack? That is the doorway. That is the emergence point to the underworld, to the fault line. Right? Perfect example of what I'm talking about. All right? And so there's a lot of rings out there, right, that aren't connected together. I don't know if I have any petroglyphs of that here tonight, but in my past shows I talk about it, and a lot of people think, well, that's a spiral too. No, because why? It's not connected. We totally can tell that this is, a spiral. This is because they're not connected. Because it's all connected together. Those other ones with a circle within a circle within a circle, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. That is like, those of you who have seen these orbs, or those of you who've seen videos of the Phoenix Lights, or those of you who've seen my videos, they're pulsating, right? They're pulsating, okay? And it's just like a ripple effect. When you throw a rock in the water, you see the ripples. That's what the artist is trying to tell you. That this orb in the sky is rippling. So he's going to draw a circle with a circle with a circle with a dot, right? Because it's rippling. It's rippling. It's energy. It's plasma, right? And that's exactly what he's trying to tell us. So the circles that are not connected are not spirals. Excuse me. So there's another petroglyph out there. There's another petroglyph where they think that the spirals, a lot of other people think that these spirals are a maze of life, the maze of life. I should have found one before I came on the air. I didn't think I was going to talk about it, but that's not the maze of life. The maze of life, I'm sure you've seen it, like in the Hopi petroglyphs. It has a man inside that maze, right? That is the maze of life, right? It's because we know there's a man inside that, right? And it looks like a maze. Here, this is a spiral. This is like looking down into a tunnel. This is like looking down into a hole, all right? This is a vortex, okay? This is an emergence point, okay? We're looking down into a tunnel, okay? And it only makes sense because look at it, right? We're going into a tunnel, dude, right? Okay, and it's ending in the crack, okay? So that is the doorway. The spiral is a symbol. The spiral isn't literally the doorway, because the spiral is just telling us that there is a doorway here. It's a symbol, and it's pointing to where the doorway really is. And what it really is this crack here. And of course, if it ends up, then it's the doorway in the sky. Okay, lots more to cover. Let's try to hurry up on this because we got more to look at. Okay, this is cool here. This is on Signal Hill. This is neat. So this one, the artist is when you look at the petroglyphs, you have to look at the whole landscape. Okay, for instance, so some of these petroglyphs, you'll see these carvings high up on a cliff, high up on a wall of a mountain or something. You have to look up, okay? And that's what the artist is trying to tell you, because, you know, he can't write it down and says, I saw this in the sky up here, okay? He can't write that down. Or so what better way to explain for people to understand what he's talking about is to carve the thing up into the sky, because I saw it in the sky, so I'm gonna have to climb up there and carve this thing in the sky. All right, I'm carving it high because he wants you to look up, right? You have to look up to see it because he saw it in the sky. All these petroglyphs the locations of the occurrence that happened there, of what took place there. So this is the reason why these petroglyphs are there. Okay, it's not just random. All right, they just didn't carve these glyphs in just random places. No, these petroglyphs are sitting in the area of where the event took place at. It's a written testimony. It's a prehistoric photograph of what happened right there where you're looking at. For instance, so there's on South Mountain on Holbrook Trail, there's two pyramids, okay? And then right in front of those two pyramids is a petroglyph carving of the two pyramids, okay? And then this being in the middle. Those of you who have picked up my book know what I'm talking about. And so, and when you step back, you know, and you look at that, you look at the carving, and then you step back and you look at the landscape. Well, the artist is talking about those two pyramids, you know, because he drew the pyramids, right? Things like that. So, and this is cool. So my point is, you see this rock here? Look how it's square. Now look at the square here, right? Isn't that interesting? So it's square, right? And it's ending up, right? And it's a doorway out. And the sky. The vortex in the sky. Or because, now this is a natural line here. Right? This is a natural stone. Okay? But what the artist could be telling us here, because it is square and because this rock is square, is this is the emergence point. They're going into that stone. That stone is the doorway, right? Without actually witnessing it, it's hard to say. But the clue here is the stone, because it's cut the exact same way as the petroglyph. Okay, let's move on. Here we go. Ooh, this is a famous one. I'm sure you've seen this spiral before, you know. This is a very famous spiral. Okay? And it's facing towards those mountains, dude. Look at the mountains. See that? And look here, it's actually cut too. So this is a solstice light and shadow marker because this is all chiseled out. The Indians cut this in such a way. One of these days, I'm going to go up there. I'm going to film it for you guys. We might even go live. But during the equinox or during the solstice, during the summer, I want to go out here on Signal Hill and I want to film what the sun and what the shadows do. Because I am guaranteed that the sun will rise right over one of these petroglyphs, probably a spiral, and will end and downward on another petroglyph here. And in between during the day, you're going to have to spend all day to watch this. This is ingenious in what they did. You have to watch it all day what the sun does. It's going to be casting shadows, man. And I bet you, because I can just tell that this rock has been cut and chiseled. So the sun will be up here and will cast a shadow through that petroglyph, right? We'll cut a spiral or we'll cut a shadow through that spiral, man. It's going to be great. I know it. I know it. We got to go out there one of these days. And so, yeah, and look what the spiral is ending at. And this is a big one, man. This is a big door. Look at that, man. It's huge, dude. And it's ending right here. It's telling us, man, that's the door. And look, it's facing these mountains, okay? If we could get out there to those mountains, I guarantee there's more of the story, all right? Because look at this. Look at this. See these boulders here? This is not natural. All right, I've been studying archaeology for a very long time, and I can tell when something's been placed, and I can tell when something is natural. And I'm telling you right here today that this is not natural. These rocks have been placed here, has been picked up and carried probably from that mountain, from the mountains in the background, all the way here, okay, and has been stacked and erected, all right, and been carved on for this specific location, okay. It's a marker. It's a calendar, if you will. And they're telling you what's going to be here, when they're going to be here, and what to look for, right? You want to look for those crosses. We want to look for those worm-looking things, right? Because that's what we're seeing on Signal Hill, right? And this is what the petroglyphs are telling us. This is what the spiral is telling us. That those things are coming out of this emergence point, right? Too cool. Okay, well, we got more. What's this? Yeah, we got a lot. Okay. Okay, here's another perfect example. Look where the spiral's going. Look at this rock, man. Come on now. This, you can tell just by looking at that rock, it's been placed there, right? It's been placed there for a reason. There's an X, right? X marks the spot, maybe. Spiral going down. Emergence point and the down. Okay? Look at that boulder, dude, right? That boulder is not natural, okay? That boulder has been placed there, okay? And look how heavy it is. So who the hell would have been able to pick that thing up and put it there, right? Somebody big? You got it. The evidence has always been here, right? You just have to, look at it in a different way. Maybe use your third eye, some people say. You have to look at it in a different perspective here, right? And once you do, it all makes sense. It all hits you in the face. And I tell you what, when I first was doing this and all this stuff was hitting me in the face, it just blew me away, and I understand now why, I don't care what anybody says, there will never be a disclosure. The government will never come out and tell you what's here. Why? Because what did I say earlier? It's because the Phoenix lights and all these things we see in the sky is what led to the Hohokam people disappearance. The Hohokam people interacted with these things. They were here in the desert for 1,000 years. They worshiped these things as gods, and then all of a sudden they disappeared, and the archaeologist wants us to believe, well, they simply migrated somewhere else because it got too hot. Okay, where'd they go? Where the hell did they go? Okay, if we're going to believe that, then we have to follow them. Where the fuck did they go, right? They're gone. Where'd they go, right? What does the rock art tell us? The rock art says the Phoenix lights, right? And these other things came down. And it's in my book. Okay, here we go again. Look at this. Uh-oh, look at that. Look. So, we have to look at the landscape, see? So when you take these pictures, of petroglyphs, try to always include the landscape because, He's telling you the story here. The landscape is the story. Now, this is interesting. I'm telling you. Look how it ends. Look, look, look. It's a straight line, dude. Look. It's a straight line. See? It's a spiral, and it's pointing up, 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 right to these mountains. See? Right over here. You know, I bet you there's something over here, some glyphs. I guarantee you there's more glyphs up there. We have got to check that out one of these days. We have got to go investigate that. But yeah, look at the evidence, you know. They're telling you, man, they're telling you. You have to look at it in a certain way to understand it. And it's perfect. He's pointing right to those mountains. See? See? You have to look at the whole landscape, because that's what the artist is telling you. He's telling us. Here we have another petroglyph, and then look. All this stuff has been chiseled out. Look. This is the old rock. This is the new rock. That's what I call it. We have the old rock with the patina, and we have new rock with the patina. So all this has been cut out. The whole story's been gone. It's missing. They couldn't move the boulder. They couldn't pick it up. The Holcombs did, or somebody very big did. But people today can't. So in order to erase the story, they come in and erase the glyphs. And that's what happened here. They took all the story away from the spiral. So I'm sure there was a lot of stuff that was there. And the government, somebody in a high authority came and wiped it all out. They did it to South Mountain too. Check out my book. And we have another spiral. There's that spiral. See, now look at it. Let's examine this. Is it connecting? No, it's not connecting. So there's a perfect example. See that? It's not connected. It's like a ripple effect. See that? It's not connected. So it's like throwing a rock into water, right? Boop, ripple, 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 boop, ripple, 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 ripple. See, it's pulsating. Okay? That's what the artist is trying to tell you. We got to get through this because I'm already past my time. I might just skip all of it. Okay. Yeah, we're just going to... There's just so much, man. Look at that. Look at that. Look, look, look. See that? And where's it going? Right in here, right? There's the spiral. There's the emergence point. There's the door. That whole Signal Hill is just full of spirals, man. Right? It's crazy. Okay, so let's just move on.
So here we have a spiral on Signal Hill. And so we're looking up. This is high up on the hill. We're up pretty much in the sky because the artist is wanting us to look up because this is where he saw this happened at, this occurrence at. And so they didn't have video cameras. They didn't have anything else to record. So they did it on special places on where the event took place at. So here we have a spiral. It's a doorway going out, okay? And it's ending up. So the vortex, the doorway, the emergence point is in the sky here. Now, we have this serpent coming out of this spiral. Those of you who have been following me all these 20 years or so know I've filmed many, many serpents in the sky coming and going from South Mountain. This is a perfect example of what the art is trying to tell us here. The artist is telling us that this serpent came out of this doorway here. Now, when we look higher up, he wants us to look higher in the sky. We have what looks like a lizard man, okay? But in reality, what the artist is trying to tell us is this is an orb here. His head is an orb, his body is an orb, and his tail is an orb. And what is going on here is they're connected together in a line and they're making these shapes. So it looks like they are mimicking what looks like a human figure in the sky, because that's what these things like to do. They like to shape shift. The Native Americans has been telling us forever that these things, they shape shift. And that's exactly what this being is doing. He's shape shifting into the likeness of a man. We have 3 orbs and he's looking like this.
Tropical area before?
Yeah, it wasn't a complete desert as we see it now.
Okay.
There's so much evidence that there was water here, from the weathering on the rocks, for instance, and just the waterfalls, the dried up waterfalls. So it wasn't.
But does that coincide with the existence of men at that time?
Yes.
Just checking.
Yes.
Because okay.
Right. So when the Holocaust first arrived here, it wasn't a desert. It was a tropical-like landscape. So it wasn't as hot and dry and desolated as it is now.
Okay.
Yeah, it was much prettier, better scenery, and so it was, and so this went on for 1,000 years. And they worship these beings, these phoenix lights, these UFOs that we like to call them, as gods. The same stories that we hear in Mexico as far as the Mayans and the Aztec temples and the pyramids, the exact same stuff was happening here, because the Mayans were here along with the Holocaust also. This went on for 1,000 years. They were masters of their land until one day they disappeared. Now the archaeologists.
Okay, that's a big point, because there is so many hypotheses of where did these people go.
Right. So the archaeologist wants us to believe, well, they simply migrated somewhere else because it got too hot. But there's no evidence of this.
Okay.
No evidence on where they went. But the rock art tells us where they went. And also the oral traditions from the Native Americans.
What did they say? I mean, where did they go?
They tell us that the Phoenix Lights, these beings, came from the east and took these people away. Now,
to where?
They took them up into the sky, never to be seen again.
Okay.
Not only did it happen here, but also the same places around the world where other tribes, other native tribes, were there for 1,000 years, and then all of a sudden came up missing. This happened at the exact same time. These things came down out of the sky and took these people away. Now, this is what the rock art shows us. The rock art shows these Quetzalcoatlus, these flying serpents, these phoenix lights, these orbs in the sky, these crosses, these weird symbols that we see on the rocks is coming down and picking these people up by their heads and carrying them off into the sky. Now, there was survivors to this, and they hid in caves. Now, I'm talking about Phoenix, Arizona now.
Okay.
I'm talking about South Mountain, okay?
Okay.
And they saw what was going on, and they hid. And when it was all over, they were afraid. And they vowed never to live in this Valley of the Sun again. Because they knew that if they were going to continue to live in this valley, that eventually they would have to go back to war with these spirits of the earth and sky. So they packed up all their belongings and they buried the gold. And the legend says that the gold is as tall as the highest sorrel cactus and as round as the sun. And they buried the gold in these tombs on South Mountain. And they vowed never to come back here again. And they took back to the place.
Why did they bury the gold?
Because that's a good question.
I mean, I understand not taking it because maybe it was cursed or something, but what buried it?
Good point. Why did they leave it there? Because the story goes on to say that the Phoenix Lights and all these other creatures we see in the skies today are guarding the gold because the Mayans are supposed to return someday and it's all supposed to repeat itself. History will repeat itself. So when the first Holocaust got here, they didn't know how to survive. They didn't know how to live. These beings came down out of the sky. They came up from the sand world. They taught these people how to live. And in return, it led to their downfall. Now, a lot of people are asking me, why aren't they coming down, landing on the White House, letting us know that they're here? Why aren't they communicating with us yet? Well, the answer is because it's not time yet. Why? Because we do not need them yet.
Once there's no food, there's no water, the air is polluted in radiation or whatever it is, they're going to see these lights in the sky. One's going to come down. He's going to transform. He's going to shapeshift into a man. He's going to say, look what I can do. I can clean up the water for you. I can clean up the air. I can give you food. In return, worship me. I am the God you have been waiting for 3,000 years. And it's going to start all over again. This is the false God, the Antichrist. These symbols are talking, it's biblical stuff. It's fascinating. When we go up and we read some of these ancient scrolls, it talks about the Nephilim. It talks about the giant. It talks about these things being thrown out of heavens onto earth. Well, the Bible explains that Mount Hermon was the mountain where these things ascended upon, but that wasn't the only mountain. There were mountains all around the world where these things were cast down at. This one is one of them. This hill here is one of them. South Mountain is one of them. All the mountains that we see spiral petroglyphs and what the archaeologists like to call anthropomorphs, shapeshifters, just like what we saw up there of the man with the 3 orbs. He's shapeshifting into a man. Those are called anthropomorphs. These are the symbols that we want to look for on these holy mountains.
Wow.
It's heavy.
It is heavy.
This is a big conspiracy here.
Right. Okay. So, I don't know what to say. So anyway, so this is, okay, so I have to add something. I've been following other stuff online of people that say that the Mayans are actually, they have, I mean, this is crazy, but this is what I've seen online, that you never know if it's true or false. Yeah. You know, like us, I mean, we could be crazy or not. It's for you to believe. But anyway, so that the Mayans have like spaceships and they are going around and you know, probably.
Okay, let's talk about that. That's a good question. Okay, when we look at these hieroglyphs, okay, especially in the moon pyramid in Mexico, okay, so the sarcophagus has a man, I'm sure you've seen it, sitting in what looks like a spaceship.
Right.
He's got the breathing oxygen thing there.
Yes.
He's moving things. He's got his foot on a gas pedal. It looks like there's fire coming out, right? All the stuff that we see, let's examine that. Let's look at that closely. Is that an alien? Is he a big-eyed creature that these people are trying to tell? Or is it a man? It's clearly a man.
Right, but we don't know if it's a shape-shifted man or a man or something that looks like a man. It could be so many things.
These things taught these people how to reach the moon. They taught these people how to make spaceships. They were not spaceships themselves. They taught men how to make these crafts. So when we see these petroglyphs and these Mayan art where it resembles, and then look at some of the art, it actually shows you a guy and it looks like a space helmet. I'm sure you've seen that.
Right.
Is it big eyes and everything like everyone's trying to say?
Again, we don't know if it's similar to us, it's us, or it's shape-shifting to us.
It's a man. Right. If it was a shapeshifter, he would have a tail. We would know that he's a shapeshifter. We would know that he's an anthropomorph. He's not an anthropomorph. He is a man. And he's learning this technology from these beings from the earth and sky.
Okay, so I'm still not understanding about the gold.
Yeah.
Meaning, like, why did they leave it here?
Because, well, they figured that it was, you know, probably not only cursed, but they left it there because they know eventually they're gonna have to come back.
Oh.
They're waiting. Like I said before, the Phoenix Lights is actually, that's one of the things about, one of the interpretations here, is the Phoenix Lights is guarding the gold because they're waiting for the Mayans to come back one day to claim it and for history to repeat itself.
Okay.
Yeah, because the Hopis say that we've had several different worlds, and each time man has messed up, and each time the world changes and man starts over again. Every time the world changes, because the Hopis say we're in this end of world and we're about to ready to enter another world. Every time the world starts again, these beings are here to help mankind and to guide them. That is what's going on.
Yeah, but the part is not clear to me. It's like, so they help with the caveat, let's say, of like you have to worship me. kind of thing.
Right.
But
Absolutely.
wait, but so it does that. I mean, let's not talk about morals because morals is another subject. Like what we think is good or bad doesn't necessarily is good or bad in theory.
Mhm.
So we are the ones that make it good or bad. Number one. So when they say that they have to worship, we have to worship them in exchange of their help. So is that a bad thing? I mean,
Well, if you
is that a
don't-
good thing? I don't even know what.
If you don't worship them, they will kill you.
Well, then you better worship them.
That's right. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
That will be the decision that
I worship
mankind
them.
will have to deal with
Right.
when these beings come back and interact with man. Either you worship me as a god, or I will cut your head
Well,
off.
that's what you say. Meaning, like that's what is being interpreted, but who knows what worship means? Like acknowledging their existence, maybe it's not. I don't know. So we'll never. I mean,
Hopefully, we won't know in our lifetime.
right. But the
So.
thing is, like, also these former people before us, they didn't have enough reasoning experience of centuries to come to conclusions, and they thought that religions was. I mean,
Well, I'm
we
not
mixed
talking
everything
about
up.
religion. I am
I
not.
know.
Wait, I am not talking
You're not
about religion.
talking. I know you're not, but I'm talking about the
Religion is a man-made thing. I don't deal with religion.
But all these people in the past, they made everything into a religion because they didn't know how to handle it. That's what I mean.
They made it sacred. Okay, I wouldn't go
Right.
so far as a religion.
Okay.
So that's totally something different.
Okay.
Okay. They made it into, this is their gods. This is what they're supposed to do. These are miracles. These are,
Right.
they're supernatural, if you will. They're higher than man. They shapeshift. They look like animals. So they're gods. This is their gods.
Right.
So in return, they worship. They were fooled. They didn't understand this. They didn't know that light in the sky was demonic or.
What is it? I don't know.
It is a creature. Each light in the sky is a living being.
Okay.
When you see 5 lights out there in the sky, you're
It's
not
5
looking
of
at
them.
you're not looking at a spaceship here, a cloaked spaceship.
Right.
You're looking at 5 living entities, 5
Right.
living beings.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So when you say 5 living beings, you're meaning are they organic or they're like
No.
Okay. They're just like energy.
Organic is more
They're
like
energy.
flesh and blood, and that's not.
Well, it depends on the vibrational, and the, all that stuff, like how organic is to us or not. Maybe in the realm they're super organic. I don't know.
Yeah.
So to us, meaning, so they are like luminous beings, and their frequencies are probably low. I don't know.
I've never looked at a frequency before.
Well, because I mean, the lower the frequency, the less ideal, and the higher the frequencies, the higher in love, and that's the whole point.
Okay.
It's like a pyramid. So
Mhm.
when you go to the thing, it's like the top is like it exists and it doesn't exist at the same time. It's just such high frequency. It's just pure love,
Yeah.
Yeah. So
it's energy, right?
right.
It's just how they made. I mean, look at the firefly. Okay, the firefly, the lightning bug, it lights up. That's how it was created.
Right.
That's how these things were created. They light up. They're part of energy. It's part of it's just what they are. They're different from man.
Obviously, but are they different than a snake or a dog or a
absolutely.
rock?
Yes.
So
absolutely.
they're like energy. They're not like you cannot touch them.
I think if you do, it probably would burn you, probably. Yeah, because it's their energy, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's the part that I always get confused because it's not the first time I talk to you.
Right.
And I'm still not clear about, are they really evil? Are they, or we make them evil because we don't understand?
Well, look at the history. If they were good, if they helped mankind, then they would still be here helping us. But
Well,
yet they took
helping
these
us for
people
what?
away.
If we're fine.
They took these people away.
For what?
Right.
We don't know.
Exactly. They just up and took them away. So, I mean, the sacred scrolls tell us that, they talk about this rapture, that these things will come down out of the sky and take these people up into the heavens. So was that a type of rapture for the holocaust? First Thessalonians say that we will be caught up into the sky to meet the Lord for judgment. Is that what happened to the holocaust? Was it a type of rapture for them? And
What is a rapture?
well, a rapture is when these things, when we will be caught up in the clouds. The Bible never talks about raptures. It never. There's not a.
But I don't
word.
even know what is a rapture.
A rapture means
I'm sure there's many
you're being
people.
abducted.
Oh, okay,
yeah, you're being
okay.
taken away.
Okay, got it.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
Not from an alien spaceship,
Okay.
but from a Quetzalcoatl, flying serpent, Phoenix Light, or whatever this crazy thing
Right.
is, coming down, picking you up into the sky, and taking you up into heaven.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, so rapture means just to abduct you.
Right, to take away.
Okay.
Right, to carry up.
Okay. So, I mean, where do we finish this conversation? What can we say?
I think we need to be vigilant. I think we need to look at hard evidence first before we start believing in other theories on what UFOs are. We have to look at the proof here.
Right.
Okay, can spaceships be proven? No. Can aliens be proven? No. What can be proved is what has been carved on the rocks left up here for us for over 1,000 years. And what do they talk about? Do they talk about spaceships? No. Do they talk about living entities? Yes. Do they talk about vortexes in the sky and vortexes in the ground? Yes. Are they talking about lights in the sky? Yes.
So I have a question for you. So, if we are the only creatures in the universe,
Now, I'm not saying that.
I'm just saying. So, I mean, that would be a sad universe to live in. Because, I mean, I hope that there is something a little bit better than us. And, but if they are flesh, somehow, they need to transport themselves in some vehicles.
Okay, good point. So,
I mean, just saying.
scientists have found at least 7 Earth-like planets on the outskirts of the solar system. So, what is to say that there's like other human beings out there that has made the technology, that has made spaceships, that has visited Earth? I am open to that.
Right.
But there's no evidence of this.
But not only that, but I mean, what we call life, sustaining oxygen and this kind of environment, doesn't necessarily mean that, we could be very toxic for other life forms.
Exactly.
And other life forms could be thriving in ammonia and things like that.
Absolutely.
I'm just saying that
they have found other life organisms in the waters of Europa, Jupiter's moon. So there's life on Jupiter's moon. Not life as we know it, but biological, some kind of fish, they're saying, is swimming in Europa. So yes, there is other life forms out there.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Are they more advanced to make a spaceship and come visit us? We haven't proven that yet. There's been theories, there's been people talking about books, but there's no proof.
But there's a lot of, for example, in Japan, in China, even in Mexico itself, there's a lot of, like, spaceship drawings from, like, these cars.
And you need to be careful about that.
They're not like serpents. They're like specific shapes.
Some of those are hoaxes, and then we go back to these beings taught people, us, how to make these spaceships. Okay, so it wasn't an alien that made the spaceship. It was a creature or an entity that already lives here. That's the secret. These things aren't from another planet. This is their world too. They have always been here with us, and they have taught us. They have taught us how to make spaceships, possibly to venture out of our solar system. Mm-hmm. So when you see art like that, it's not an alien spaceship, it's a man spaceship.
Well, we don't, I mean, I don't know for sure, but it could be both. Let's say that.
Sure, I'm open to that.
Yeah.
But like I said, there's just no evidence of that yet.
Right. So anyway, so I'm really not worried, but I'm always left like in the, like you said, the caution of these beings. We don't even know what they are or what they want. I mean, they want worship. I don't know. It sounds too primitive to me for an energy source that is of light to want that. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Like, I'm just using all the little knowledge I have. It's like.
I understand totally.
No, but I mean,
it's deep. It's very deep. Yes. It's very heavy. A lot of research went into this.
Oh, I'm sure.
So I'm not the only one that has been saying this. This information has been taught throughout, hundreds of thousands of years. I learned the correct interpretations from a Native American shaman who works at one of the Indian museums here in Phoenix.
Okay.
So yeah, so I was taught the correct way on how to interpret it.
So what did he say about everything you're saying? He said.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
He's talking about the giants. He's talking about the spiral doorways. That's how I learned.
What giants?
And he's the giants. That
We didn't talk about any giants.
Yeah, there's
Okay,
giants.
wait.
There was giants here.
Okay. Somehow